Are the embroidery threads on your machine acting like a drama queen? Too tight, too loose, and always causing problems? In this video, I'm going to be spilling the tea on tension settings so your machine can work like a dream and not like a nightmare. Every now and then, I like to tame my machine and bring it back to its factory reset, if you will. It's my personal reset. So I'm going to show you how I do it to get my tension right every single time, because throughout the months and the days that I'm using the machine, we're always adjusting the tension, and your machine ends up looking like an equalizer where all the knobs are different heights. So one thing that I like to do is I like to make sure that all my knobs are the same height. So if I take a ruler and you put it across here, you're going to notice that all the knobs are the same height. It can go right across it. None of them are uneven. And I've picked a point in where the screw head is just below the edge of the knob, okay? And I've done this to all my knobs. I've reset them. Some of them were really low, some of them was really high, and I ended up just correcting them to make sure that they're all great. So this is what I call my factory reset. I like to do this about every other month or so, just to make sure that it's working right, because throughout the day, like I said, we're always constantly changing the tension. So I'm going to be using just a layer of twill and just tear away back and cut away back, and it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to wear this. This is just for the test to give it some stability. That's it. So this is going to be a great way for me to know that my tension is good. And one thing also is you always want to make sure that your bobbin tension is dialed in. This is the most important one, because the bobbin is what dictates what all the other threads do. And your bobbin is the one constant that you have. You always want to try to eliminate your variables. And right now, the variables are your 20 threads. The bobbin is the only constant. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the bobbin is right where it doesn't fall when you shake it. So here I have it just tight enough that when I shake it, it stays in place. If I have the bobbin too loose, I'm going to change it by a quarter turn. If I have the bobbin too loose, watch what happens. It just keeps running all by itself, okay? So that's too loose, and I'm going to change it by 1/8 at a time. So if I was at 9, I'm going to go to 11:30 or 10, 10:30. And right now you notice it's still a little bit loose. So now let's go to 12. We're going to do another 1/8. So now we're at 12 o'clock. And now notice it's just tight where it's not moving. So this is my constant. This is always going to be the same. Now once I finish with my tension test, I may have to tighten it, may have to loosen it. We don't know, because we're trying to get a reset. So all the knobs are the same height. My bobbin is at a good tension. Let's run the test. This is also something that you want to do anytime you change all the threads out on the machine, to make sure that the threads are working properly. Because sometimes if you misthread it and it doesn't sew right, you're going to be confused, and this is when you want to check it. So doing the tension test after a rethread is also a good idea. Although I'm sure you guys want to watch the whole tension test, I'm going to show you a little bit about springs. While the machine is embroidering, I came up with this test so I can show you something. So these are 3 different types of springs that go on your machine. Some of these are on the EM1010, some of them are on the Marquee, some of them are on the MTs. So there are a bunch of different springs, but I just wanted to show you something, that not all springs are created equal, right? So let's take this one for example. Or which one do you think will compress the most? I've made this jig so that we can test the springiness or the retention, how tense the springs are, which does make a difference here in your embroidery machine. So let's say this is about a couple grams. Let's see what happens when I put it on this one. Look at that, the spring almost compresses down. There's still a little bit of spring to it, but notice it's all the way down. Then we have this one, and it almost doesn't move. It has a lot more tension in it. Then we have this one. Do you think this one's going to have more or less? Let's take a look. Boom, look at that. So this one is somewhere in between the two of these. So your machine comes with a set of springs, and if you adjust the tension on your machine the way it should and you still can't get results, sometimes you might have to change your springs. Over time, the springs do get metal fatigue and they start to compress a little bit prematurely. So it's part of the routine maintenance. Just like you change the shock absorbers in your car, you would change the springs in your machine. For the most part, they're gonna last you a long time, but every now and then, if you're constantly tightening your screws down, or the knobs all the way down to the bottom, and you're compressing your springs flat, they may get that fatigue. So every now and then, it's good to reset your machine so you can get a fresh start. So this is one of those good reasons why you always want to do the tension test after rethreading, because one of these threads got tied up in the spool in the back. It didn't pull through. So that's why it's not a bad idea to run a tension test just before you run your garment, because you don't want the thread to break on a design. Although you can fix it, it's not something that I like to do all the time. So I like to have my stitches not break and fix them. So now everything is perfect. So now I can continue with my test. There she goes. If you're having any other issues with your machine, make sure you check out the 5 most common embroidery issues. We're going to leave a link in the card above and in the description below. All right, that was the last one. Now let's talk about the results. All right, guys, let's break this down. Now, I don't want you to think that you need to go change the springs on your machine, because unless you have an extreme case, you probably don't need to change the springs on your machine, but I just wanted to let you know that, okay? Now, remember that when it comes to tension, the bobbin has to win always, but you don't want the bobbin to win too much. So when we look at these, we want a third of color, a third of bobbin, and a third of color again. So when we look at this piece should be about a third, the white should be a third, and the other side should be a third. Here, it is not at the optimal tension, but it's pretty good. We could use this. So if we wanted to fix this, we would tighten the top thread by 1 thread, because I want the top thread to win a little bit more. Right now, the bobbin's winning too much. I don't see enough bobbin here, which means the bobbin is grabbing the colored thread a little bit too hard. So here, if I add more resistance to the top thread, the bobbin will relax a little bit and show me more bobbin. Here, this is fine, this one's fine, this one's fine. Here, I can tighten the orange top thread, and I'm not going to do anything to my bobbin because overall they look really good. And remember, we just reset the machine, so right now we're just dialing it in. Here, this looks pretty good. Here, you notice that there's a lot more bobbin. You can barely see the third of bobbin on the yellow. So this means that the top thread is too tight. So I'm going to loosen this yellow one. Anytime you see too much bobbin, you want to loosen the top thread so that the bobbin can grab it a little bit more. Here, I can loosen the purple thread by a little bit. Here, I would probably do 1 turn, or maybe 2 turns here. I would do 1 turn there. This one, I could, that's good. The white one looks good. You guys can't see it too well, but it looks okay. The blue one looks fine. The orange one looks fine. Here, what am I having? The blue is pulling the bobbin too hard, which means the blue has too much tightness. I need to loosen the top thread, the colored part, a little bit so that the bobbin can squeeze down a little bit. Same with the purple. I need to loosen that one a little bit, the top thread, so that the bobbin can win a little bit more. The red is fine, the purple's okay. This gray one is fine. This black one, I could loosen the thread just a little bit. And on the teal, I could loosen the top thread a little bit. And on the last one, the black, I can loosen that one a little bit as well. So remember, it's a tug of war. The bobbin is pulling and the top thread is trying to resist, and they have to meet somewhere, not in the middle, but at a third. So now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to adjust our knobs, and we're going to run the test again with the colors that we needed to change, and we'll see what the result is like. If you're running into bird's nest issues, make sure you check out the video on bird's nest. It's going to be in the card above and in the description below. With my test in hand, we're going to go ahead and tighten and fix the ones that we needed to fix. So we're going to start with number 20. So if I hold it like this, it's exactly in the same order that they came out of. So let's start. We're going to work our way from left to right. So we're going to start with this one, and here we need to loosen the black thread a little bit so that the bobbin can pull on it a little bit more. So here I'm going to go loose by two turns and 1 turn here. The teal, I can loosen that one as well, so I'm just going to do 1 turn. Let's do 2. And this one, we'll leave it alone. This one's fine, that one's fine. The purple one, Let's see, that's this one right here. We need to loosen that one. We're going to loosen the purple. The blue, we're going to loosen the one next to it. And then we're going to the yellow. The yellow one needed to be, and the purple. So let's go to the purple. We're going to loosen that. Where's the purple? Right there. And the yellow is next to it. We're going to loosen that one as well. And you see me doing it twice, but that's really just one full turn. I'm doing half turns at a time. Usually with the top threads, you don't need to be so finicky. When I say loosen, I don't mean just to do a couple of clicks, but really just give it a whole turn. And on the orange, I'm going to tighten that one up a little bit. So for the orange, I'm going to tighten it by one turn. And on this gold, the first one, I'm going to tighten that one as well. So think of all these knobs as a bunch of hands on a tug of war, and you want to spread out the tension. You don't want to just tighten one knob all the way. Now that I have it dialed in, I'm going to run the tension test one more time and we'll see the results. I'm going to use the same material that I used before so that there's no variables. We're going to use one layer of backing, which is just a tearaway. It's not a big deal. The twill is going to hold it together. And I'm going to use one layer of twill. So let's put that away. We want to keep the same material, the same direction of the thread and the material, everything the same, so that we get the same result. So now that I've done those adjustments, we're going to run it again and see what happens. Now, I could just run the colors. Instead of running the whole entire test, I could just address the ones that I need so we can speed up the process a little bit. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So instead of having it do the entire tension test, I don't need to do the colors that are good. I'm only going to do the ones that are no good. So we're going to start with the gold, which is number 1, and I'm going to put it in automatic manual mode so that it pauses after every color. So now we're going to do 1, so here we go, start. Now that that's done, we're going to move on to the next color, which is number 5, which is the orange. So we're going to go to float. And we're just going to fast forward a color. Notice you can see the colors right there. There we go. And now we're going to start on the last one. So now we're doing number 5. Now it's the orange. All right, the orange is done. Next color we're going to do is the yellow. So we're going to go to float and go forward. And that leads us next to the yellow. That's it. Okay, next up is, I think it was the light blue and the purple. So we're going to forward to the light blue and purple and let those run. Let's hit one more. And now we do the light blue and the purple. All right, final is the blue and the black on the last one. So we're going to go float. And we're going to go forward. And we're going to do the last 2. Perfect. Okay, we're almost there. All right, let's compare. So when we compare the two, if you look at the gold, I loosened the gold a little bit, and here you can see it totally opened it up. So I'm going to tighten this one down just a little bit back. I'm going to go just one turn on the bottom one. Remember, there was 2 top ones. I'm going to fix this one. Here, I'm going to tighten the bottom one just a little bit. The yellow one, I can still loosen the top yellow a little bit more. These 2, I'm going to loosen them some more, and these 2, I'm going to loosen them some more. So we're going to work our way just a little bit at a time, not go too crazy. So I'm going to loosen them just a little bit more to see what happens. So with the test in hand, we're going to do the same thing. So for the gold, this one I need to loosen the gold just a little bit. I think I over tightened it, so I'm just going to go loose right here. On the yellow, I'm going to go loose again. That's here. Let's loosen that some more. Let's loosen the blue and the purple a little bit more. And we're going to do the black and the teal one more time. So those 2 turns is equivalent to 1 full turn. So let's run it one more time. If you need to run it again, you can always go to your color and make the second color the yellow as well. Make it back to the first, and then we'll run it again. Much better. One thing I want to tell you is try not to go crazy with these tension tests. You don't have to do multiple tests, okay? Just get it just right around where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, you could be here all day trying to get it perfect, okay? It doesn't need to be perfect. It just has to be decent. So if you're close to the 1/3 rule, that's fine. That's it. You can stop right there. But you don't have to get it perfect, because the minute you throw a different material into the mix, that's going to change your tension as well. So this is just for us to get a guideline or a baseline as to where the machine is relatively okay, where it's a standard tightness, standard tension across the board. So don't try to make it perfect, okay? That's better. Let's go to our next colors. Now, if you see the bobbin coming up at any point, you can always just loosen the top thread, okay? Now let's do the yellow. Better. Let's try one more time. We'll loosen it up just a little bit more. So I'm going to change my next color to the yellow as well. So that's going to be 7. That's why we don't want to repeat the whole test all over again. We can just make multiple tests of the current one that we're using. So now we can keep going. So now I'm going to loosen it even further. It's number 7. Because I want the bobbin to win. So I'm giving the bobbin all the slack that it needs. That's looking better. Now, believe it or not, different color threads require different tensions because some threads have more pigment in them. The base thread is all polyester, so it's the same, but depending on the color determines how much pigment goes into that color to give it the desired look. So that's why sometimes with the thread you have different thicknesses as well. So now we're going to do the blue and the purple. So these also needed to be loosened. So we're loosening them a little bit. I could still see a little bobbin, but I fixed it. Now there's no more bobbin. Let's see what it looks like at the end. Next color. Much better. And the last two are the teal and black. If you look right there, you can see the little bobbin sticking out. So that's what I adjusted for. We started over here and we made our adjustments to get to this point. So our orange was a little bit too tight, then we loosened it too much, then we got it just right. The same thing with the this gold color, it was a little bit too tight, we loosened it too much, we got it right on the second time around. So instead of having to do the entire tension test over again, just concentrate on the colors that you need to fix. That's it. That way you don't have to do it all over again. And if you can do this with the same bobbin for the entire test, that's even better because you're removing the variables, okay? So here on this black, we could barely see the line. Now we can see a lot more of it. And remember, we're not trying to get a perfect thing. This is fine. As you're working with your material, as you're embroidering, this is just a baseline, just to kind of get you a feel for where your machine is. This is perfectly acceptable. We can go on with our embroidery. Something to keep in mind, before you go reset your machine, if the machine is running just fine, then just leave it alone and do a tension test. If any of the threads need to be adjusted, then you can adjust that one particular thread. The reset that we did today was more for when your machine is just all out of control and you've gotten so crazy that all the knobs are so different. So this is one way to get it back to normal again. So if you ever find yourself where the machine is all, all the knobs are crazy and you just can't get the tension right, this is one way to start getting on your way of good tension. So do a knob reset, get them all at the same height, and then go from there. Make sure that your bobbin is okay. And remember, whatever change you make to the bobbin is gonna affect all the threads. So usually the last thing that you change is the bobbin. If you go through all your tests and you still can't get it right, well, you could tighten the bobbin one more time by a quarter turn or an eighth of a turn, and then do the test again. But again, I don't want you guys to get bogged down making tension test after tension test. This is only if you need it. So once a month, I'll run a tension test on my machine. If it looks good, I leave it alone. I don't do anything. If it needs any tweaking, I'll tweak those colors. If it's all out of whack, then I'll reset it. If you're liking the content that we're creating here at Ricoma, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we're coming out with the next great content.